The silver-skinned aliens of Proxima Delta never thought they would need to beg for help. For over 50 years, the Alterans had kept to themselves. They built their homes on the rocky plains of their colony world, far from the busy trade routes of the Orion Arm. Their tall, slender bodies moved gracefully under the light of the binary stars they called home. They were a peaceful people who valued knowledge, art, and the gentle telepathic bonds they shared with one another. Lyra Voss stood at the large window of the colony's main tower. Her silver skin caught the red glow of the emergency lights. The calm she tried to show did not match the fear in her mind. As colony commander, she needed to stay strong for her people, but the sight before her made that almost impossible. 7 black ships hung in the sky like sharp knives. Their hulls were covered with glowing red lines that pulsed like blood in veins. These were the warships of the Zenith Dominion, the most feared power in this part of space. The Dominion did not ask for permission or offer peace talks. They simply took what they wanted, and right now they wanted Proxima Delta. Commander Voss, a voice called from behind her. The shields are down to 30%. They won't last another day. Lyra turned to face her aide, a young male named Elrin. His usually bright eyes were now dull with exhaustion. No one in the command center had slept for 3 days. Not since the Dominion ships first appeared at the edge of their system. "Any response to our calls for help?" Lyra asked, though she already knew the answer. Elrin shook his head. "The Galactic Council has declared this a non-intervention zone. No one will come." Lyra closed her eyes briefly. The Galactic Council, made up of the oldest and most powerful species in known space, had strict rules about when help could be sent to worlds under attack. Small colonies like theirs, with no valuable resources to offer, were often left to fend for themselves. It was politics at its worst, and the Alterans were about to pay the price. "What about the Solarii? We have trade agreements with them," Lyra said, trying to keep hope alive. "They expressed regret, but said they must follow council rules," Elrin replied. A loud boom shook the building. Outside, one of the colony's few defense towers erupted in flames as a red beam from the largest Dominion ship cut it in half. "That was the last heavy cannon we had," reported Kai, the defense chief. His hands moved quickly over the control panel, but there was little left to control. "Main shields will fail in 10 hours at this rate." "And then they land," Lyra said quietly. Everyone in the room knew what that meant. The Zenith Dominion didn't take prisoners. They were partly machine, partly living tissue, and they viewed other life forms as either resources to be used or obstacles to be removed. 20 worlds had fallen to them in the past 5 years alone. "We should prepare the shelters. Get as many people underground as possible," Kai suggested. Lyra nodded, but they all knew it was just delaying the end. The Dominion had weapons that could crack a planet's crust if they wanted to. "Commander," Elrin said suddenly, his voice different. He held a small metal cylinder in his hand. "There is one more option we haven't tried." The room went silent. Everyone recognized the device Elrin held. It had been given to them 3 years ago by a human diplomat who visited their colony. The humans were newcomers to space travel, having discovered faster-than-light technology only 2 centuries ago. They were not yet a major power and had limited territory by council decree. Most older species looked down on them. "The emergency beacon," Lyra said, eyeing the simple device. "You think the humans would help us?" "They might," Elrin replied. "They've spoken against the non-intervention policy many times. Their ambassador said if we were ever in real trouble, we should use this. It sends a signal directly to their nearest base." "The humans have no military presence in this sector," Kai pointed out. "Even if they wanted to help, they'd be breaking council law to send ships here. And they have no real warships that could match the Dominion," added another officer. "They're too new to space." Lyra took the beacon from Elrin. It was surprisingly heavy for its small size, with just a single button on its surface. The human ambassador had been very different from the other diplomats she'd met. While the Solarii were formal and cold, and the Vreen always spoke in riddles, the human had been direct. Almost too direct by galactic standards. "If you need help, really need it, press this," he'd said. "Don't worry about the politics, just press it." Another explosion rocked the building. Through the window, Lyra could see 3 more Dominion ships descending from orbit. Soon they would begin landing operations. "We have 12,000 people on this colony," Lyra said firmly. "I won't let them die without trying everything possible." Without further hesitation, she pressed the button on the beacon. It made no sound, gave no indication that it had worked. For all she knew, it was just a useless piece of metal given to make the humans feel important. "Now we wait," Elrin said, not sounding very hopeful. "Now we fight," Lyra corrected him. "Prepare all civilians with weapons training. Set up barriers in the main colony sections. If the Dominion wants our world, they'll pay in blood for every step." The next 3 days were the longest of Lyra's life. The Dominion continued their orbital bombardment, taking out key infrastructure across the colony. The shields failed completely on the 2nd day. After that, it was only a matter of time. From the command center, now moved to an underground bunker, Lyra and her team coordinated what little resistance they could. Some families had fled to the cave systems in the northern mountains. Others prepared to fight. Many simply huddled together, sharing their telepathic bond one last time. On the morning of the 4th day, the largest Dominion ship moved into position directly above the main colony. The pattern of energy readings was clear. They were preparing to fire their main weapon, a planet cracker that could split the crust for miles. "It's been an honor serving with all of you," Lyra said to her command staff. None of them had left her side even when she ordered them to safety. "Commander," the sensor operator suddenly shouted, "I'm picking up an energy signature at the edge of the system. Something just dropped out of FTL drive." "Dominion reinforcements?" Kai asked grimly. "No, this is different. I've never seen this configuration before." Lyra moved to the sensor display. A single dot of light was racing toward the colony at incredible speed. As it came closer, more details became clear. It was a ship, but unlike any she had seen before, sleek and dark gray, with strange arrays of technology extending from its hull. "Can you magnify?" she asked. The screen zoomed in on the approaching vessel. Along its side, in simple white letters, was written USS Defiant. Below that was a blue flag with white stars. "That's a human ship," Elrin whispered in disbelief. They actually came. Before anyone could respond, the communications panel lit up with an incoming transmission. Lyra nodded to the operator to put it through. A human male appeared on screen. His skin was tan, his hair short and dark with touches of gray at the sides. He wore a dark blue uniform with silver markings on the collar. "This is Captain Sam Bennett of the United Earth Alliance vessel Defiant," he said in a calm, steady voice. "We received your distress call. Hold tight, Proxima Delta, you're not alone anymore." The screen split to show the Dominion fleet turning to face the newcomer. Their lead ship, over 3 times the size of the human vessel, fired a warning shot across its bow. "They'll destroy them," Kai said softly. "The humans don't know what they're up against." But Lyra wasn't so sure. There was something in the human captain's eyes, a steadiness that hadn't been there in any of the other species who had abandoned them. "Perhaps," she replied, watching as the human ship accelerated toward the Dominion fleet. "Or perhaps the Dominion doesn't know what they're up against." As the USS Defiant closed the distance, dozens of small objects suddenly deployed from its hull, forming a complex web around the ship. The Dominion fired again, a direct hit this time, but the energy blast scattered harmlessly against an invisible barrier, and then the human warship opened fire. No one had expected help to come. No one had expected humanity would dare. But as the Iwao void above Proxima Delta lit up with weapons fire, the people of the colony looked up with the first real hope they'd felt in days. Help had arrived, roaring through the void. Captain Sam Bennett stood tall on the bridge of the USS Defiant. His dark blue uniform was neat despite the 3 days of hard travel to reach Proxima Delta. The muscles in his jaw tightened as he watched the Zenith Dominion ships on the main screen. 7 warships against his 1. Those were not good odds. "Status report," Sam said calmly. Lieutenant Olivia Gray looked up from the weapons console. Her fingers moved quickly over the glowing panels. Aegis defense network is at full power, Captain. All weapons are ready. Engines are running hot but stable, added Kate Nichols from the engineering station. Her red hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and dark circles under her eyes showed how hard she had worked to push the engines beyond their limits to get here in time. Sam nodded. He had a good crew. They had all volunteered for this mission, despite knowing the risks. The United Earth Alliance had strict orders not to interfere in this sector. The Galactic Council would be furious. But when the distress signal had reached Earth's outpost at Tau Ceti, Sam had not hesitated. "How many people on that colony?" he had asked when the signal came in. 12,000 Alterans, was the answer. That was all he needed to know. "Open a channel to the Dominion flagship," Sam ordered. Lisa Ramirez at Communications touched her console. "Channel open, sir." Sam straightened his back. "This is Captain Sam Bennett of the United Earth Alliance vessel Defiant. You are attacking a peaceful colony. Power down your weapons and leave this system now." The screen changed to show the face of the Dominion commander. It was part flesh, part machine, with tubes and wires connecting to the back of its skull. Its voice had a metallic echo. "Human vessel, you have no authority here. The Galactic Council has declared this a non-intervention zone. Leave immediately or be destroyed." Sam kept his face neutral. "We received a direct call for help under the Mutual Aid Treaty. Earth does not recognize any rule that allows the murder of innocent people." The Dominion commander's mechanical eye glowed brighter. "Then you will die with them. We are 17 ships. You are one." "Check your scanners again," Sam replied with a small smile. "You're down to 7 ships now. The others seem to be having engine troubles." The commander's organic eye widened slightly. It hadn't known that for the past 6 hours, special teams from the Defiant had been disabling the engines on 10 of the Dominion ships parked in higher orbit. "This changes nothing," the commander hissed before cutting the connection. Sam turned to his first officer, Commander Alan Powell. Alan was older than Sam, with gray hair and a steady gaze. "They're powering up weapons," Alan reported. "Deploy Aegis," Sam ordered. Dozens of small satellites launched from hatches along the Defiant's hull. They formed a web around the ship, connected by beams of pale blue light. This was humanity's greatest defense technology, the Aegis system. It could absorb and redirect energy attacks, and launch Valkyrie squad, Sam added. From the bottom of the Defiant, 12 small fighter ships shot out into space. Each was piloted by a single human. They moved in perfect formation, heading straight for the Dominion fleet. "Sir," Alan said quietly, "Council regulations forbid us from attacking first." Sam nodded. "I know. We won't fire until fired upon." He paused, then added, "But once they fire, we hit them with everything we've got." He didn't have to wait long. The largest Dominion ship fired a red beam of energy directly at the Defiant. The Aegis network glowed bright as it absorbed the attack. "Return fire," Sam ordered. "Target their weapon systems only." The Defiant's main guns fired blue pulses of light that struck the Dominion ship with perfect accuracy. The enemy's main weapon exploded, leaving a smoking hole in its hull. "One down," Olivia reported with a grin. But the battle had only begun. The other 6 Dominion ships opened fire, filling space with deadly energy beams. The Aegis network handled most of it, but some got through. The bridge shook as the Defiant took a hit on its port side. "Damage report," Sam called out. "Deck 3 has hull breach, emergency shields in place," Kate replied. 2 injured, being taken to medical. The Valkyrie fighters weaved between the larger ships, firing at weak points and drawing enemy fire away from the Defiant. They were smaller and faster than anything the Dominion had seen before. "Captain, we're being hailed," Lisa said. "It's the Galactic Council." Sam sighed. "Put them through." A tall, thin alien appeared on screen. It had blue skin and no hair. This was a Solarii, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. "Captain Bennett," the alien said in a cold voice. "I am Counselor Zarim. You are violating Council law. Withdraw your ship immediately, or Earth will face serious consequences." Sam stood up straight. "Counselor, with all respect, we are responding to a direct distress call. The Alterans asked for our help when no one else would give it. The Council has designated this a non-intervention zone, Zeram insisted. Yes, Sam replied. We know about the designation, we simply disagree with it. The alien's face showed shock. No species had ever openly defied the Council before. When Earth joined the galactic community, Sam continued, we promised to respect life throughout the galaxy. If the Council has forgotten that promise, then humanity will remind them. He nodded to Lisa, who cut the transmission. There's going to be trouble later, Alan warned. Later is later, Sam replied. Right now we have people to save. The battle grew more intense. 2 of the Valkyrie fighters were hit and destroyed. The Defiant took more damage as the Aegis network weakened. But the Dominion ships were suffering too. The human weapons were more accurate than anything they had faced before. After an hour of fighting, 3 of the 7 Dominion ships were disabled, their engines and weapons destroyed. But the Defiant was in bad shape too. Aegis network at 30%, Kate reported. We can't take much more of this. Sam studied the tactical display. The remaining 4 Dominion ships had formed a line, preparing for another attack. Behind them, the Alteran colony was visible. Its buildings damaged but mostly intact. 12,000 people waited there, watching the battle that would decide their fate. New plan, Sam announced. Bring us in closer to the colony. Position between them and the Dominion fleet. Sir? Alan questioned. That limits our maneuverability. It also means they'll have to fire through us to hit the colony, Sam explained. And it puts us in position for our secret weapon. The Defiant moved closer to Proxima Delta, its damaged hull gleaming in the light of the binary stars. The crew knew what their captain was planning. It was risky, but it might be their only chance. Prepare for Nova Burst, Sam ordered. This was the weapon Earth had developed in secret, hoping never to use it. The Defiant's engines would channel all their energy into a single massive pulse. It would disable the Defiant for several minutes afterward, but the pulse would overload any electronic systems within its range. Valkyrie Squad, clear the area, Sam ordered over the comm. The remaining fighters pulled back. Nova Burst ready, Kate confirmed. Her hands hovered over the activation sequence. The 4 Dominion ships moved forward, weapons charging for what they hoped would be the final blow. Now, Sam said quietly. A wave of blue-white energy expanded from the Defiant in all directions. It washed over the Dominion ships like a silent tide. One by one, their lights went out. Their weapons powered down. Even their life support systems faltered. On the Defiant, everything went dark for 30 seconds before emergency power came on. All Dominion ships disabled, Olivia reported as her console came back to life. They're hailing us, Captain. Sam took a deep breath. Put them through. The Dominion commander appeared again. Without its systems at full power, more of its organic face was visible. There was fear in its one real eye. We surrender, it said simply. Allow us to retreat with our damaged ships. Sam considered for a moment. The Dominion had shown no mercy to countless worlds, but humanity had not come to space to repeat the mistakes of the past. Agreed, he said finally. Take your ships and go. But know this, if you or any Dominion force returns to this system, Earth will respond again, and next time, we won't be alone. The commander gave a stiff nod before the screen went dark. As the Dominion ships slowly limped away from Proxima Delta, the communications panel lit up again. This time it was Commander Lyra Voss from the colony. Captain Bennett, she said, her silver face showing an emotion humans would recognize as gratitude. The Alteran people are in your debt. No one expected help to come. Sam looked around, at his tired but proud crew. That's the thing about humans, Commander Voss. We show up when we're least expected. 3 days after the battle, the USS Defiant still orbited Proxima Delta. The ship's hull showed the scars of combat. Black burn marks where enemy weapons had struck and sections covered with temporary patches. Inside, repair teams worked around, the clock to fix the damage. In the colony below, things were changing fast. The Alterans had welcomed the humans with open arms. Medical teams from the Defiant helped their wounded. Engineers worked to restore power to damaged buildings. For the first time in days, children played in the streets again. Lyra Voss stood in the colony's main square beside Captain Sam Bennett. Around them, humans and Alterans worked together to rebuild a fallen statue. The silver-skinned aliens were still getting used to humans. They were shorter, louder, and moved with a strange energy that the calm Alterans found both confusing and exciting. "Your people didn't have to stay and help," Lyra said. "You've done more than enough already." Sam watched as Kate Nichols, his chief engineer, showed a group of Alteran workers how to repair their power grid. "This is what humans do," he replied, simply. "We don't just fight and leave." Lyra studied the human captain. In the 3 days since the battle, she had learned that humans were very different from what the other species in the galaxy had told her. They were not the violent primitives that Council records described. Yes, they could fight. The destroyed Dominion ships proved that. But they also built, healed, and shared. "The Council has called an emergency meeting," Lyra said. "They want both of us to attend." Sam nodded. He had expected this. Defying the non-intervention policy would have consequences. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow. They're sending a Solari transport ship." Before Sam could respond, his communication device beeped. "Bennett here," he answered. "Captain, we're picking up 6 ships entering the system," came Alan Powell's voice. "Not Dominion, they're Council ships." Sam and Lyra exchanged worried looks. "We'll be right there," Sam said. They hurried to the colony's command center, where they could see the incoming vessels on the large display screen. 6 sleek ships with the blue and gold markings of the Galactic Council Enforcement Division. "They're hailing us," said the communications officer. A stern-looking Vreen appeared on screen. The insect-like alien's compound eyes reflected the light, in multiple colors. "This is Enforcer Kraz of the Galactic Council. Captain Bennett, Commander Voss, you are ordered to stand down all military operations immediately." "We are engaged in relief operations, not military actions," Sam replied calmly. "The human vessel will power down weapons and prepare for boarding," Kraz continued as if Sam hadn't spoken. "Commander Voss, you will prepare your colony for Council inspection." Lyra stepped forward. "Under what authority?" "Proxima Delta is a sovereign colony." "Under Emergency Order 472 authorized by the full Council. The human intervention here represents a serious breach of galactic peace. We must determine if sanctions are required." The screen went dark before either of them could respond. "They can't do this," Lyra said, her voice rising with anger. Sam took a deep breath. He had known there would be a price for helping the Alterans. "They're scared," he said. "Nothing scares powerful people more than someone breaking their rules and getting away with it." "What do we do?" Lyra asked. Sam considered their options. The Defiant was in no shape for another fight, and even at full strength, they couldn't win against 6 Council enforcers. "We cooperate," he said finally, "but we also prepare." While the Council ships moved into orbit, Sam sent a secure message to Earth. It contained full details of everything that had happened at Proxima Delta, including visual records of the Dominion attack and the colony's distress call. He knew that Council representatives would try to control the story, painting humans as dangerous rebels rather than rescuers. The lead Council ship landed near the colony center. From it emerged Enforcer Kraz along with representatives from the major Council species, a blue-skinned Solari, a floating Vreen, and a liquid-form Nachtmar in a containment suit. Sam and Lyra met them in the colony's meeting hall. Alteran. Citizens lined the streets watching silently as the Council members passed. "Captain Bennett," Kraz began formally, "you are accused of violating Resolution 3429 by bringing military forces into a designated non-intervention zone." "I responded to a direct distress call under Article 7 of the Mutual Aid Treaty," Sam replied. The Solari representative stepped forward. "That treaty was never ratified by the full Council. It was signed by 17 species, including the Alterans," Sam pointed out. "That makes it binding under Council Charter Section 12. The council members looked surprised. They hadn't expected a human to know their laws so well. "The fact remains," continued the Nachtmar in a bubbling voice, "your actions have disrupted the delicate balance of this region. The Dominion has filed a formal complaint alleging unprovoked aggression." At this, Lyra could no longer stay silent. Unprovoked? They were about to destroy our colony. Where was the council then? "The non-intervention policy exists for good reason," the Vreen said. Its voice was a series of clicks and hums translated by a device on its thorax. "If every species took it upon themselves to intervene in conflicts, the galaxy would be in chaos. And if no one intervenes when innocents are attacked, what kind of galaxy is that?" Sam asked quietly. The meeting continued for hours. The council, representatives reviewed logs, interviewed witnesses, and inspected the damage to both the colony and the Defiant. Through it all, Sam remained calm and respectful, even when the questions became accusatory. As night fell, the council members returned to their ship to discuss their findings. Sam and Lyra waited in the colony's garden, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. "Whatever they decide," Lyra said, "my people will never forget what you did for us." Sam nodded. "Earth won't abandon you now. Whatever happens to me or my ship, more humans will come. We don't leave friends behind." Before Lyra could respond, her communication device signaled. "Commander Voss," she answered. "Commander, we're receiving signals from multiple ships entering the system," reported her aide. "At least 20 vessels, approaching from all directions." Sam and Lyra rushed back to the command center. The main screen showed the new arrivals, ships of all shapes and sizes, but they weren't Council or Dominion designs. "Can you identify them?" Sam asked. The sensor operator worked quickly. "Sir, they're from 20 different worlds. The Balari, the Tau, the Nomari, the Zisk, all smaller species from across the sector." As they watched, more ships appeared. Soon there were over 50 vessels in orbit around Proxima Delta. "They're sending a message," said the communications officer. "To us and the Council ships." The message appeared on screen. "We stand with Earth and Altair. No more non-intervention." Kilame and Lyra looked at each other in shock. Neither had expected this. "What's happening?" asked Kraz, the Council enforcer, as he rushed into the command center. "The galaxy is changing," Sam replied simply. Over the next few hours, representatives from the newly arrived ships came to the surface. They were species that had suffered under the non-intervention policy, worlds that had lost colonies or resources to aggressive powers while the Council did nothing. They had heard about what happened at Proxima Delta, how one human ship had stood against the Dominion when no one else would. In the colony's Great Hall, leaders from 24 worlds gathered. They spoke of their experiences, their losses, and their hope that things might finally change. As morning approached, they drafted a joint statement to the Galactic Council, demanding an end to the non-intervention policy and the formation of a mutual defense alliance. Sam watched it all, with a mixture of pride and concern. He had come to save one colony, but it seemed he had started something much bigger. "Are you worried about what might happen?" Lyra asked him as they stood at the back of the hall. Sam thought about his answer carefully. "Change is always dangerous," he said finally. "But so is standing by while others suffer. Humans learned that lesson the hard way, in our own history. Maybe now the galaxy can learn it too." Outside, the first light of dawn touched the tops of the colony buildings. Above, the ships of 20 allied worlds orbited in formation around Proxima Delta, a silent statement that no one would stand alone again. 1 month after the Battle of Proxima Delta, Captain Sam Bennett stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council on Arcturus Prime. The room was massive, with high ceilings and walls covered in symbols representing over 200 spacefaring species. At the center was a circular platform where speakers could address the assembled representatives. Sam wore his formal uniform, dark blue with silver trim. Beside him stood Commander Lyra Voss, her silver skin polished to a shine for this important day. Behind them were representatives from 24 worlds, all the species that had come to stand with Earth and Altair. The hall was packed. Every member of the council was present, from the oldest races like the Vreen and Solari to the newest members. This was the largest gathering in 50 years. At the head of the chamber sat the High Chancellor, a massive Vreen whose compound eyes glittered in the bright lights. Its voice, translated through speakers, echoed through the hall. This emergency session will now begin. Captain Sam Bennett of Earth, you stand accused of violating Council Resolution 3429 by bringing military forces into a designated non-intervention zone. How do you respond? Sam stepped forward onto the speaking platform. He had practiced this moment many times, knowing that his words today might change the future of the galaxy. Not guilty, he said clearly. His voice was calm but carried to every corner of the room. Resolution 3429 conflicts with Article 1 of the Council Charter, which states that the primary purpose of this body is to protect all sentient life within the galaxy. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Many had expected the human to beg for mercy, not challenge the Council's own laws. Furthermore, Sam continued, I present the testimony of 25 worlds who have suffered under the non-intervention policy. Worlds who have watched their neighbors fall to aggression while this council did nothing. Lyra stepped onto the platform next to Sam. The Alteran people owe our continued existence to Captain Bennett and humanity. We ask the council, if your purpose is not to protect your members, then what purpose do you serve? The High Chancellor's mandibles clicked in irritation. The non-intervention policy exists to prevent larger conflicts. Without it, the galaxy would descend into constant warfare. With respect, Sam replied, the galaxy is already at war. The Zenith Dominion has attacked 30 worlds in the past 5 years. The Krell Imperium has seized territory from 15 smaller species. The difference is that only some of us are allowed to fight back. A blue-skinned Solari rose from his seat. Humans are new to space. You do not understand the delicate balance we maintain. Perhaps that's why we see things differently, Sam acknowledged. On Earth, we learned through bitter experience that standing by while others suffer doesn't prevent conflict. It guarantees it. For the next several hours, representatives from the 25 allied worlds spoke. They told stories of colonies lost, of people killed or enslaved, of calls for help that went unanswered because of the non-intervention policy. Some of the older council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats as the testimony continued. Finally, a representative of the Nomari, a species of tall, four-armed beings, proposed a formal resolution. We call for the creation of a rapid response force, comprised of volunteers from all council species, authorized to intervene in cases of unprovoked aggression against civilian populations. The High Chancellor called for debate on the proposal. The chamber erupted into heated discussion. The older, more powerful species mostly opposed it, arguing that it would destabilize the careful political balance they had maintained for centuries. The smaller worlds, especially those who had suffered under the non-intervention policy, supported it strongly. While the debate raged in the council chamber, Sam stepped outside for a moment of quiet. He found a balcony overlooking the gleaming towers of Arcturus Prime. Far below, he could see people of dozens of different species going about their daily lives. Lyra joined him on the balcony. Do you think we'll win the vote? She asked. Sam looked up at the stars visible even in the daytime sky. I don't know. The old powers are deeply invested in keeping things as they are. Change is hard, especially for species that live for thousands of years. Then why try? Sam smiled slightly. Because it's the right thing to do, and sometimes that's enough to make the impossible possible. They returned to find the council chamber quieter. The debate had ended, and it was time to vote on the resolution. One by one, the representatives cast their votes. As expected, most of the older, more powerful species voted against the proposal, but many of the middle powers, who had previously always sided with the stronger voices, hesitated. They had heard the testimony, had seen the recordings of what happened at Proxima Delta. When the final tally appeared on the large display at the front of the chamber, a historic shift had occurred. By a margin of just 7 votes, the resolution had passed. The High Chancellor's voice betrayed no emotion as it announced the result. Resolution 4501 is adopted. A committee will be formed to establish the parameters of the Galactic Rapid Response Force. As Sam and Lyra left the council chamber with their allies, representatives from dozens of worlds approached them. Some offered congratulations, others wanted to discuss joining the new force, and a few simply wanted to meet the humans who had challenged centuries of tradition. "What happens now?" Lyra asked as they made their way through the crowded halls. "Now, we build something better," Sam replied. "A galaxy where no one has to face darkness alone." 2 weeks later, Sam stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant as it prepared to leave Arcturus Prime. The ship had been fully repaired, its battle scars replaced with new hull plating. "Course laid in for Earth, Captain," reported the navigator. "Thank you," Sam said, "but we have one stop to make first." The communication screen activated, showing the face of Lyra Voss. Behind her, the rebuilt command center of Proxima Delta gleamed with new equipment. "Captain Bennett," she greeted him with a smile. "Are you heading home?" "Not quite yet," Sam replied. "We've received a distress call from the Nomari colony in the Tau system. Apparently some Dominion ships are testing whether we meant what we said about mutual defense." Lyra's expression grew serious. "Do you need assistance?" "Actually, we do. The new rules allow for joint operations now." "We'll have 3 ships ready within the hour," Lyra promised. As the communication ended, Sam turned to his crew. They looked tired, but determined. They had signed up for a mission of peace and exploration, but had found themselves on the front lines of a changing galaxy. "I know this isn't what any of us expected when we left Earth," Sam told them, "but sometimes the universe doesn't give us the mission we wanted. It gives us the mission we're needed for." The crew nodded in understanding. "Set course for the Tau system," Sam ordered, "and let the Nomari know that help is on the way." As the Defiant's engines powered up, Sam thought about how much had changed in just a few weeks. A single act, the decision to answer a distress call that everyone else had ignored, had set in motion events that were reshaping the politics of the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, ships were being prepared. Not for conquest or domination, but for protection. Species that had been enemies for generations were beginning to work together, united by a simple principle that humanity had brought to the stars. No one should have to stand alone against the darkness. The USS Defiant jumped to FTL speed, leaving a brief flash of light behind. Once again, a human warship roared through the void, carrying help to those who needed it most. And this time, they were expected.